Hello comrades, this is General Luigi, and welcome to Let's Prepare to Play Fire Emblem Awakening. I know, some of you probably want me to let's skip ahead to the actual Let's Play, but I want to clear some things up first, and I also want to give you a voice in some of the stuff I plan on showing you. I hope you're sitting down because I have a lot to talk about. To start, I should point out that I intend to show you just about everything this game has to offer. All the characters, all the paralogs, and all the xenologues. Unless there's some stuff I'm not aware of, I have all the DLC. Since I plan on showing you as much as I can, there are certain things I must do in-game. As with every Fire Emblem game I've played, there are some characters I must keep alive in order to be able to recruit everyone. I imagine most Fire Emblem perfectionists prefer to reset when someone runs out of HP. The problem is that if I have to reset every time someone dies, it could potentially disrupt my upload schedule. If, despite my best efforts, I'm unable to complete a certain chapter without someone dying, my uploads will suddenly stop until I'm able to complete the chapter in question without losing anyone. Buffers eventually run out if I don't make any progress, and while failure can be amusing, it can only last for so long before it starts to get boring. In addition, I'm not really showing you much of the game if every new episode is just a new way for me to fail. Awakening veterans have probably picked up on where I'm going with this by now. I know this decision will upset some purists, but I feel my best course of action for this Let's Play is to do it in casual mode instead of classic mode. Casual mode will prevent losses from being permanent. If someone runs out of HP, he or she will no longer be usable in that battle, but he or she will be able to fight again in the next battle. Now, if you're worried that this will encourage me to be reckless, don't be. I'm going to follow a 3 strikes rule for every mission. The first 3 times someone runs out of HP on a mission, I reset, but you'll get to see the failure. The 4th time, I will move on even if someone runs out of HP. That said, even on the 4th attempt, I will make every effort to avoid losing anyone. If someone runs out of HP, it will be because I screwed up, not because I considered his or her loss a necessary sacrifice. Furthermore, I will keep track of every time I lose someone in this LP. If I make it through this LP without losing anyone, I will give myself a medal. Yeah, that's how unlikely I think that is. I'm doing this on hard mode, so I suspect casual mode's safety net will be necessary. So, why not do normal mode, right? Well, as good as I am at normal mode, I can't guarantee that I'd get through it without losing someone. That being the case, if I'm going to play through this game on casual mode, I might as well give myself a challenge. Normal mode has gotten kind of stale for me, and an important part of Let's Playing is having fun. If I don't feel up to breezing through a mission, that will show in my commentary. Again, this is for the sake of showing you as much of the game as I can, and if I am to show you every character, I need quite a few people to stay alive. And while I'm no rookie, it's good to have contingencies. I'm not playing this game to show off. I'm playing it to have fun, and to share it with you and show you everything it has to offer. Now that that's hopefully out of the way, I mentioned giving you, the viewers, a voice. In this game, characters can fall in love with each other and even get married. I'd like you to vote on who will marry whom. Now, before you start posting your preferred pairings in the comments section, please listen to what I have to say. I have a system prepared, and you throw your vote away if you don't follow it. There are also certain things I would prefer for everyone to take into account when voting, as well as certain things I would prefer for everyone to ignore when voting. This being YouTube, it's possible that some people will get alternate accounts in order to vote multiple times. I really hope this doesn't happen. I'm being nice enough to let you vote in the first place, so please don't get greedy. If I have sufficient reason to believe there is ballot stuffing going on, all pairing elections, including ones that have already ended, will be declared null and void, and I will choose the pairings myself with no input from my viewers. Also, while I know it might be tempting to invite other people to join in the voting, please don't do that. This isn't a best pairing contest. You're only voting on what actions I may or may not take in my Let's Play. Simply put, if you aren't going to watch the Let's Play, don't vote. First things first, let's figure out the order in which the marriages will be voted on. I imagine I don't have to point this out, but once, say, Lissa's husband has been chosen, the man in question won't be available to any of the other women that he could have married instead of Lissa. As such, I want you all to vote on who will have their marriages decided first. Without spoiling things, there are 2 groups of people who can be married off. People in these groups can only marry within their group. It's in the game's programming. The first group has 9 women and 12 men in it. Technically, the group has 10 women, but one of them is not having her marriage voted on. In addition, there is a 13th man with access to this group, but his marriage also isn't being voted on. More on that later. Sumiya and Krom also have partial access to this group, but since they can only marry some of the men and women respectively in the first group, I don't count them. Anyway, since the men outnumber the women, votes involving the first group will focus on the women. If there's a particular pairing you really want, vote for the woman in that pairing. Depending on your character's gender in this game, the second group either has 7 men and 6 women in it, or 6 men and 7 women in it. In this Let's Play, the second group will have 6 men and 7 women. There is technically a 7th man with access to the second group, but his marriage isn't being voted on. Again, more on that later. Moving on, since the women outnumber the men in this group, votes involving the second group will focus on the men. If there's a particular pairing you really want, vote for the man in that pairing. Whichever woman from the first group gets the most votes will have her marriage decided on first, giving her the widest variety of husbands to choose from. Whichever man from the second group gets the most votes will have his marriage decided on first, giving him the widest variety of wives to choose from. In both cases, in the event of a tie, I will provide the tie-breaking vote. You get 1 vote for each group, so choose wisely. Now then, let's move on to voting on actual pairings rather than the order. To start, when going over the options, please don't bring eugenics into the equation. This isn't Crusader Kings 2. I want these people to marry for love, not for the sake of passing on certain traits to their offspring. Before casting your vote, please make sure you have read the support conversations for all the pairings available to vote on. Base your vote on what you thought of the support conversations. Do these two come off as a good couple? Can I picture these two spending the rest of their lives together? These are the kinds of questions you should be asking yourself. We might be voting on it, but we're dealing with someone's future and happiness here. A child with Gale Force and Counter isn't worth 2 unhappy parents. As for how you vote, you may post your vote in the relevant video's comments section, or send me a private message if you'd rather keep your vote a secret. Shipping can lead to some pretty nasty flame wars, so I can understand wanting to keep your preferences a secret. If you're going to vote through a private message though, please title the message Awakening Vote or something else that clearly tells me that this message contains a vote. Otherwise, just post your vote in the comments section. To keep feelings from getting hurt though, I'm going to have to insist that there be no flaming. If you flame someone over his or her preferred pairing or pairings, you forfeit your voting privileges in the associated poll and all future polls that I run on this channel. I'll keep a list of offenders, so don't think that I'll forget about your behavior 2 years from now when I'm letting people vote on something else. You are allowed to disagree with someone's views, but that doesn't make it okay for you to talk down to those you disagree with. Now, to add to that, while I am willing to listen to you, I'm still the person playing the game, so I'd rather not have to put up with a pairing that I don't like. I can't speak for the Japanese and European versions, but in the North American version, which I'm going to be Let's Playing, some of the support conversations make certain pairings come off as forced or unstable. This is what I mean when I say a pairing that I don't like. To make this less likely, I've made votes for certain pairings worth more than votes for other pairings. I've separated pairings into 4 classes based on how believable I consider them to be and how fond I am of them personally. The pairings class determines how much support it needs to be the one I go with in the LP. That said, please vote according to your preferences, not according to any sympathy for the underdog or belief that you should vote for whichever pairing you think will win. Oh, and please judge pairings based on their support conversations in the North American version. X and Y might be a cute couple in the Japanese version, but that doesn't mean there'll be one in the North American version. Anyway, Class 0 pairings are ones that I am 100% against. Unless you can make a solid case for me assigning the pairing in question to a different class, a vote for a Class 0 pairing will not earn it any points. Class 1 pairings are ones that I would rather not do, but am willing to do if they get enough support. A vote for a Class 1 pairing earns it 1 point. Class 2 pairings are ones that I am okay with, but usually wouldn't consider if it weren't being put to a vote. A vote for a Class 2 pairing earns it 2 points. Class 3 pairings are ones that I support. My vote will always go to one of the Class 3 pairings I list, unless there are none available at that point. A vote for a Class 3 pairing earns it 3 points. Now that that's out of the way, here's how voting's going to work. I will upload a video every Monday to list the available pairings for a given first group woman and a given second group man. you will have until 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific Daylight Time that Wednesday to convince me to reclassify any Class 0 pairings you think deserve a chance. On Thursday, I will upload an updated list of pairings that accounts for reclassification. You have until 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific Daylight Time that Saturday to vote. On Sunday, the winner will be announced. After all of the pairings have been decided on, the Let's Play itself will begin. Also, as I pointed out earlier, some marriages will not be put to a vote. 2, to be exact. Sumiya is going to be marrying Crom in this Let's Play. Crom's marriage is scripted, and while he's not forced to marry Sumiya, the game is programmed to give her priority over his other potential wives. In addition, she appears alongside Crom in the opening cinematic. It's not exactly decisive evidence, but it does support the idea that they are canon pairing. Cordelia will be marrying my character. Because there is a character in this game who is supposed to be me, I feel a strong personal connection to said character. I would rather not have people vote on my marriage. Married viewers can almost certainly understand my reasoning, even though it's technically not me getting married in this case. With the other characters, it ultimately makes no difference whether I choose the pairings myself or let people vote on it, since they would all stay single if left to their own devices. Well, save for Crom, but only because his marriage is scripted. Now, let's discuss the first group women whose marriages will be voted on. Lissa is the first woman who will be joining our merry band. She's the kind of person whose very existence seems to keep others in good spirits, and despite all the stuff that she goes through, she doesn't let it change her for the worse. Honestly, off the top of my head, I don't recall even one time she was legitimately angry with someone. If I had to sum Sully up in one word, that word would be tough. Basically, she comes off as the kind of woman more likely to kick a guy's butt than go out with said guy. That's not to say she's not interested in men, but she isn't the kind to swoon over them and melt into their arms. Muriel is interesting. She's determined to approach everything from a scientific perspective. It can come off as pretty creepy. I've always found pairing her up difficult because of this. With a lot of pairings, I find myself wondering if love had anything to do with her decision to get married. Maribel is easily one of my favorite characters. It's easy to write her off as a stuck-up snob, and she certainly doesn't make much of an effort to not be viewed that way. But there actually is a heart under there. Pan's people were wiped out by humans, so her difficulty trusting them is understandable. She's slow to warm up to people and takes great pride in her heritage. Needless to say, she's eventually able to grow to trust humans. Having only humans as potential husbands helps. If you can get past the way she dresses, Noe is absolutely adorable. As if her appearance wasn't a dead giveaway, she's very childish. Mind you, she knows a lot more than she lets on, but most of the time she acts as young as she looks. Tharja. Oh boy. Tharja is creepy. She's quite fond of learning new ways to use magic to harm people, from giving someone a runny nose to killing them slowly and painfully over the course of a year. Mind you, she's not necessarily evil, but she's a lot less altruistic than the rest of the characters. Olivia is extremely shy and self-conscious, despite what you might think from the way she dresses. That said, she's also a very sweet and loving person. Some might say too sweet. She often worries about offending someone, and is very quick to apologize for the smallest things. Shersha is another one of my favorite characters. For the most part, she is a very polite and kind-hearted lady who prefers domestic pursuits to warfare. That said, I pity the man who would try to confine her to the kitchen. Those who give her trouble have to answer to her friend Minerva, a wyvern. So those are the women from the first group. Cordelia would normally be in that group, but since her marriage isn't being voted on, I didn't see much point in including a description for her. Besides, I'll probably talk about her enough in the LP to make up for that. Now, let's move on to the men from the second group. In theory, the first man from the second group who joins you is Owain. He has quite the flair for the histrionic. He fancies himself the protagonist of an epic that focuses on his struggles, both with the enemies he faces on the battlefield and an enemy within that encourages him to kill without mercy. Inigo's most prominent feature, other than his name bearing a very close resemblance to that of a popular character from a well-known movie, is his tendency to flirt with pretty much every woman he sees. He's also quite cheerful, despite having a romantic track record best compared to that of Brock from the Pokémon anime. afraid he might look and talk like a thug, but he's actually the ultimate softie. He's also very quick to beat himself up over things that ultimately prove trivial, from his brutish appearance to his lack of physical strength. Oh, he's also interested in a fair number of pursuits that generally aren't considered manly. Jerome is destiny. Jerome is fate. Jerome is Wyvern Man! Okay, similarities to a well-known comic book character aside, Jerome is the classic loner with a wall around his heart. Some pretty bad things have happened to him, and he hopes that by never growing attached to anyone new, he can avoid further heartache. Yarn comes off as generally being a coward, which isn't exactly a good trait for a soldier to have. He still does his duty when the situation calls for it, though, and though the idea of dying terrifies him, his supports often revolve around him finding something worth risking his life for, such as love or a friend. Laurent is a bit of a foil to Muriel. On the one hand, like Muriel, he's very neat and organized. Not to mention he is quite devoted to studying the world and people around him. Unlike Muriel, however, he doesn't seek knowledge simply for knowledge's sake. Rather, he seeks to use what he learns to help those around him. So that's everyone. We'll learn more about the first group men and the second group women when the marriages themselves are being voted on, rather than just who gets first pick. Well, I suppose since you're going to be the ones deciding on the marriages, they're arguably not the ones getting first pick. Oh, also, there is one second group woman whose very existence is arguably a spoiler. You will get to see her face, but her name will not be revealed. Anyway, there's one last thing I would like to discuss before ending this video. I'm in the market for co-commentators. Now, before you post a comment or send me a message, as with the shipping issue, please listen to what I have to say first. To begin, I doubt I will have someone co-commentate for more than 1 or 2 episodes, so don't think you're going to be along for the whole ride. Also, if you're a minor, I will not accept you as a co-commentator unless you can prove your parents are okay with it. I do not want to get you into trouble. Also, you're not going to be meeting me in person for this. That's probably not a surprise to most of you, but I want to be sure no one gets the wrong idea. In order to co-commentate, you need a Skype account that you're willing to contact me through. You also need a headset, preferably a good one, and a reliable internet connection. If you're not sure how you'll fare as a co-commentator, don't worry. For any given episode, there's a practice session before the real deal. Normally, this is just so the mission is fresh in my mind when I Let's Play it, but in this case, it will also help us figure out if you're comfortable co-commentating, if we're able to avoid fighting, and so on. I figure it's best to get those kinds of questions answered before recording something that can be viewed by anyone with good enough internet access. If we can't make it work, don't worry about it. Unless you're a huge jerk or something, I'm not going to hold it against you. Feel free to opt out at any time. I've got a backup file for that very reason. If the recording session doesn't go well, I'll just load the backup file and record on my own. Anyway, if you are in a position to co-commentate and want to do so, please send me a private message titled Awakening Co-Commentator or something else along those lines that clearly tells me that the message is an offer to co-commentate. If there's a specific part of the game you want to co-commentate for, please say so in the message. I can't guarantee you'll get that spot, but I'll see what I can do. I will generally follow a first-come, first-served policy unless I'm waiting on someone I actually invite to co-commentate. If you've watched my Let's Play videos, you know I've never had a co-commentator before, so this will be a new experience for me. We'll work out the details, such as when we'll record, when and if I accept your offer. Also, unless you're someone I already know well, you're probably not going to be co-commentating in any chapter after the 11th at first. If things go well enough and enough viewers like you, I might see about bringing you back for a later chapter. So, assuming you're co-commentating and comfortable with doing so, there are still a few things we need to make sure you understand. The first one's kind of obvious. No discussing spoilers. Yes, the viewers are spoiling themselves by watching this Let's Play, but that doesn't mean major plot points should be revealed before they happen. Some of the viewers will probably be unfamiliar with the story, in which case I want them to see it the way I did when I played through the game myself for the first time, taking all the surprise turns of events as they come. Second, this game is rated T. Please make sure your commentary is appropriate for a T-rated game. If you give E-rated commentary, that's even better, but I won't insist on it. If you normally talk like Attacking Toucans or Lucajin and can't tone it down for the sake of this LP, your commentary won't appear in the finished video. Third, try to avoid bad-mouthing any of the characters. Character bashing is kind of a sensitive issue with me, not to mention I don't want to risk offending any viewers who might be especially fond of certain characters in the game. Fourth, please try to avoid bringing up any personal information. I can't guarantee that everyone watching my videos has good intentions. I'll edit out what I can if one of us reveals sensitive information, but it would still be best if such things not be revealed in the first place. Fifth, don't badmouth any real people, even if you don't think they're ever going to see the video. Enough people are mistreated over the internet already. I don't want any part in increasing that number. Think you can abide by those terms? It's a lot to swallow, I know, but truth be told, I imagine a lot of it went without saying. I'll also see if I can convince some of my fellow Let's Players to take a chance with me and co-commentate for a chapter or two. Who knows? Maybe one of your favorites will make an appearance. Anyway, with that, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything I wanted to. If you've got pairings that you want voted on first, please remember to post your vote or send it my way in a private message. I'm very much looking forward to this Let's Play. Fire Emblem Awakening is a great game, and I hope I'll be able to get that across in my Let's Play of it.